on sports! All right, gentlemen. Chris, how are your nipples tonight?
I can hang some keys, fellas. I am layered here in the man cave.
I am not, but that's because I'm nuts. So
let's see your breath.
It could be the garlic, though.
You mean more than normal? You mean?
Could be tonight's garlic.
Tell you what, we're gonna go music nicknames tonight.
Oh, nice.
Okay. All right.
You know, people that sing songs.
We could have Chris pick all those and you second and me be a distant third.
All right. Chris, pick a number.
I'm going to say 7.
You are Chris Slowhand. Slowhand.
Mr. Clapton, summon up the ghost of Mr. Eric Clapton.
He did get that nickname as part of the Yardbirds, fellas.
I remember you teaching me that, honestly, 38 years ago at Duquesne.
Yes, sir.
All right. All right, Gare.
Number 2. What I used to wear in basketball.
It's not good for you the last couple of days. Gare.
No?
No, it's not bad. You're the possum.
Gary's going to be picking and grinning.
I mean, I do have a raccoon hat around here somewhere. So I guess.
All right. When you pick something tonight.
3, Dave.
You do that.
How about 3, Dave? All right.
It'll be Dave, the chairman of the board.
Chairman of the
Oh,
board. There you go.
fitting.
That's true. As far as this show is concerned, and in other ways, that is true, actually.
That is fitting.
Well, thank God you didn't pick number 10.
Which would have been?
The Pope of Mope.
I couldn't tell you who that is. Chris, I'm sure will know.
He's good. I remember this because he was the most depressing person I ever heard sing.
Oh, Chapin?
No. No, Chapin was kind of a soft depression.
What was it again, Dave?
Morrissey.
Mm.
I was
Yeah.
In the day when I worked for Horns. I was in a car going to Ohio with another buyer who was very into Morrissey, and within an hour I was looking for knives to slit my wrist.
Jim Morrison or Van Morrison?
Morrissey.
Morrissey. Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, he is depressing.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, now I had forgotten about it. I'm not a. You guys know more about. You guys forget more in 1 week about music than I'll know.
His songs have body counts in them. They're so depressing.
Oh, I was looking at a picture of Prince Charles knighting Van Morrison last week. And, if he was a hooker, he'd be very special because, his face came to Prince Charles' crotch area. And realized he was that short.
I didn't either.
He's about as wide as he is short now, too. He's on the Stephen Stills, David Crosby diet.
Oh. There's your Van Morrison, not John Entwistle, who is the Ox, of course.
The Ox, yes. In fact, he wrote a song for The Who called The Ox.
Number 1. Had you picked number 1, you could have been the Ox.
Oh, damn it.
Well, we can roll it through again down the road.
All right.
We'll rotate through.
Well, tonight we're gonna start talking a little bit about the Wilder Fury fight.
Yep.
Had a good first fight.
Mm-hmm.
Although
Controversial.
I'm sorry.
Controversial.
Yep. Very.
And while I am excited, I won't be able to see it because I'm working late, so I won't get home until 11:30. At the just great value of $70.99.
Undercard really. We need Don King back, but yes.
Yeah,
agreed.
these undercards. I was looking at the undercard.
Horrible now.
You got the WBO Super Bantamweight title,
Mhm.
which I don't know if it's a heavier bantamweight or just the title is so super.
No, it's
Had to put that in there.
super bantamweight is 120, 122, or junior featherweight, depending on the organization.
Well, that'd be like my leg fighting.
Exactly.
Yeah, my wife always, I don't know, I probably shouldn't say this in this form, but my wife said they look, it's like midgets fighting, she used to say when we would see it live.
Well, if you
It's true,
said little,
very, very small guys. So
yeah,
We'll get Patty a little sensitivity training when.
yeah, exactly.
she'll not be forced into a class.
Yes, I just signed her up for one. But it's amazing how small some of those men are at those lower weights when you see them up close.
122 pounds.
Think about that. That's smaller than a jockey and smaller than a lot of women. So think about that for a minute.
I was, and I just in my head I had to put about 14 edits through there and decided there's just nothing good that could come from it.
No, not that's true.
It's even smaller than some female jockeys.
Yeah. Thank God.
But the latest pomp and circumstance going on, as CBS Sports is wondering, is Wilder the biggest puncher in boxing history?
No.
No.
I laugh at that.
Modern hyping again. So
Modern hyping. Now, I think this is going to be, although I'd love to see Fury win, I think this is going to be a very one-sided Wilder victory. I just think he's a better athlete, better puncher. Not the best puncher in boxing history.
no.
But Gary, what are you thinking as our resident boxing expert?
Well, I very seldom have the creativity of you guys, but I have a prop and I have something because I want to summon up what I think. I even think, even though you guys might not have watched this as much as in the 80s and 90s, I'm going to summon up some things that I think. I'm going to try to summon up some gods, so bear with me. Okay?
Oh,
You can see my hat.
Ooh.
Are you ready? Give me 40 seconds. Just listen.
Wow.
This is what we're rooting for. The top of what was World Championship Boxing. Tyson, Lewis, Bo, Holyfield, Gatti, De La Hoya, Trinidad, on and on. With all the problems boxing has, this is what we want. We want this music and what this music often followed to happen. And I think it could. First fight was warranted in this. This time, hopefully it'll be better.
I like it. I like it. Although that's only the second greatest HBO theme song of all time. This, my friends.
oh, here we go.
Oh,
Dueling themes.
okay, here it is. Had to go through the Liberty.
I knew that was coming. Nice.
Yeah. Let's hope we don't get that music for tomorrow or Saturday. You know?
Well, I'd like to see Larry as a boxing announcer.
Yeah, that part would be entertaining, but the music would be. We hope we don't have that kind of circus. I think.
I do love that ESP or HBO fight song. The Larry Murphy.
I think that was both the broadcasting, the quality of that production. Showtime did take over late in HBO's long run in terms of quality and better announcers, even some better fights. But HBO's run from probably 75, starting with the Foreman Frazier all the way through probably about 2010, maybe even through 2012. Unparalleled production was good. And honestly, that music for high-level boxing that's really competitive, the music was a perfect fit in my mind.
I have to tell you, Gary, when you played that, I felt the hair on the back of my neck stand up because I remembered some of those great fights.
I still, when I hear it occasionally, a friend of mine sent it to me the other day.
Wait
But I
a
hope
minute.
you got this.
Wait a minute. Here's something else.
All right. All right.
One of the great calls in boxing history.
Definitely. I mean, he was had to learn to take him. He was a hard taste sometimes, but he did love the sport. So, it
Well,
could
his
be
his
now.
last fight was tough to watch. The Tex Cobb one, that was
Yeah, he made that about himself too,
Yeah.
He did. I mean, it was a mismatch, horrible one. Bad era in boxing when we were in college, actually. That was Thanksgiving, we were in college. I guess, Chris, you and I were sophomores. Dave, you were a junior.
Yeah.
Horrible day after Thanksgiving, big sports week, horrible mismatch.
Remember it well, and I just kept thinking, and I loved Howard Cosell. He's one of my favorites, if not my favorite.
Yep.
I just kept thinking to myself, would you shut the hell up?
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, they canned him after that. They canned him after that because they had a contract.
they deserved it. I mean, if Cobb was, he had one of the great chins in boxing history. Not a great boxer, but one of the great chins in boxing history, and he was no worse for the wear.
You're not paid to be commenting on the moral aspect of it. It's entertainment, So
if you're taking the money to broadcast it,
that's right.
No
That's
right.
I agree.
To claim.
He had become really bitter up to that point as well for some of the other fights that he was broadcast. He had become bitter.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, I guess I'll try to break it down like I guess anybody would. I mean, I'm sure you guys have read some stuff. Plenty of people. It's not going to be anything really all that enlightening here. I always look at what's the strategic focus of both guys. What's the significance of it? For both of them now. I'm not even going to talk about the historical significance. Wilder's certainly one of the bigger punchers I've seen, but he's nowhere near the punching of Lennox Lewis when Lewis would hit you, or Tyson, even Ernie Shavers, even Ken Norton. I mean, he's not in that league. He doesn't have the technique those guys did. Wilder's a tremendous athlete, but he's very raw, and that's one of the risks that showed time and time again, and he keeps pulling things out. Despite that, he may not be able to do that this time. And Chris, you alluded to the controversy. I had Fury winning the first time, 114, 112. And it was primarily because of Wilder. He just doesn't really do a lot of things, and I'll talk about that in a second. But I look at, what's the technique and the strategic advantage, what's the significance, and then, I think what's the intangibles. I mean, quickly, because I want to hear you guys' view on it. People don't just want to hear me talk about it. I mean, I do think, Dave, you're right. I think the possibility exists this time. What makes this one intriguing, I think, for people who like boxing is this could go a myriad of ways. I do think Wilder is probably going to come after him a little harder early this time because he knocked Fury down twice, the second time really hard. I don't think he's going to be as tentative. I think he's seen him before. That matters a lot in boxing. I think he's going to come after him. He could stop him early. I don't think it would be a huge surprise to a lot of people because Fury does go down. He can get hit, and when he does, but he gets up, which is something he's never been given credit for.
Right.
I think that it could go the same. It could look very much like the first one, though. Fury is so big. When you see him up close at 6'9" with an 80+ inch reach, you really can't get near him. And one of Wilder's disadvantages is he's not really very much of a jabber. He's kind of a headhunter, and he doesn't hit you to the body. So he's not going to slow a guy like Fleury down. If Fleury's herky-jerky style, he's probably going to run around in circles again. And I could see it giving Wilder problems. Wilder even had some problems with Luis Ortiz, who's a lot more stationary again the second time back in November. I think the strategy is Wilder's got to come after. He's got to land a big right hand. I hope he goes to the body a little bit more. Fury's got to do the same thing he did the last time. He's got to box and move. He's got a weird herky-jerky style. He's got to keep Wilder off balance, and it's fairly easy to do that. And it's fairly easy to keep his engine from starting. I think in terms of significance, it's huge for both of them. I mean, ironically, despite the fact that this isn't the era that we even saw with that HBO music in the 90s, I mean, some of those contenders in the 90s, like Andrew Galata and guys like that, were probably as good as this group of four right now, including Ruiz and Ortiz and these two.
I'd agree.
But the contenders were every bit as good then. We just don't have the same talent. These guys are going into other stuff from MMA to the other sports now, as Emmanuel Stewart predicted. But I do think for both of these guys, the next payday to come, and he's vulnerable, so there'll be a lot of interest and a lot of money from that, is Joshua. perhaps in the UK, and it's huge money because it's still a primary top 3 sport in the UK. They'll sell out a soccer stadium, it'll get pay-per-view. Either guy, Fury fighting him, 2 Brits, or Wilder finally getting in there with him, if that happens, honestly, I think there's going to be such a pot of money that the significance is huge for both guys. Even if it's a draw again, if they both look good, they have a chance at that pot of money. And honestly, I think either one has a good chance to beat Joshua. I think
they're fighting for what title today, there, Gary?
Wilder, it's fragmented. I mean, it's fragmented. Ruiz, I think, held the, if I'm not mistaken, the WBC.
You're missing my point. What does Fury hold?
Oh, he holds the lineal title.
I love that. I love that.
Well, I mean, that is the, if you really want to, if you're looking to the sports history, that is the key.
Champion.
That's the key one. Yeah.
Beat
the man who beat the man who beat the man.
Exactly. I love it. I absolutely love that.
It doesn't drive the money anymore like it used to. Now what drives the money is whatever belt has the most television acceptance, and the most backing. But yeah, Fury is the lineal, so there's still significance to that to me too. So yeah, I didn't pick up on that. But I think the intangibles here are very interesting this time. Wilder apparently had a bad head injury the last fight against Ortiz. They say it's healed, but he's kind of a tall, skinny guy, and it was a wrist injury as well, a badly sprained wrist and a hand injury. If he's got a problem like that, that gives Fury a big swinging advantage. But Fury's still very much of a loose cannon. He knows how to work the media, ESPN, everybody talking about MMA, talking about the WWF, all that kind of stuff. But he's also a loose cannon. He praised this guy Ben Davidson, who was with him the last 2 fights, like he was the second coming of Christ. Then he fires him unceremoniously out of the blue. And he does have a better trainer this time, but it just seems like there's always chaos around him. And I don't know, all this talking and pushing each other at press conference stuff, when you get in there and a guy that big's hitting you, all this stuff starts to come home to roost. So I think the intangibles swing a little bit to Wilder too. So I'm going to stop here. I want you guys' opinion. I kind of think Wilder wins here. I do think this time he's going to catch him. I don't think it's going to be as early as you might, Dave. This time I think he's going to catch him. He's going to knock him down a couple times. I think he's going to stop him. But I will hedge in the standpoint. I could see Fury has 3 or 4 times in his career surprised people with how Klitschko, although he was 39 years old, was still a big puncher, and he couldn't find Fury. He landed 60 punches in 12 rounds. Fury's so weird and herky-jerky, and he's so long. He can beat you in an unimpressive fashion, and you really can't do anything about it. So, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it ends again in controversy with Fury getting a decision possibly, but I do like Wilder to win.
Before we go to Fletch, what's eating on your shirt?
What's eating? No, it's Eat, Sleep, Breathe Boxing.
Okay.
And it's from Canastota, New York, a place anybody who likes boxing.
I saw some nipple there. Did you, Fletch?
I don't have much of ones.
I think it's cold. Well, Patty has complained about that online, but go ahead, Fletch.
Well, I'm going to agree with Gary. I think it's going to be a very interesting fight. I think it can go either way. I read an interview with Fury, and you guys are going to love this, that he said that he's going to be better prepared for this fight because the last time his training was a little substandard because he was drinking 20 to 30 Diet Cokes a day.
He's a loose cannon. He's a very
20 to 30 Diet Cokes.
He's 6'9", but think about that. Yeah.
How much was going on in his trunks at that point? That's a lot. That's a lot to the bladder.
Well, did you guys hear the weight that he? Not to, Fritz. I'm going to go right back to you. But did you guys watch the show on ESPN? Of course, they have to have Mario Lopez on there, although he does know boxing with Steve Kim, who's a very good writer out in the West Coast. You know what Fury's weight's going to be coming in?
What?
What's that?
It sounds like Ruiz. He's talking about coming in around 268, 270. Wow. Big mistake. He thinks he's probably going to have more TNT just as Ruiz did, but also tells you maybe he wasn't taking this as seriously as he should have been.
So he's as heavy as the 2 super bantamweights that are going to fight.
Will be his weight of Fury's leg. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I don't understand how, and Gary, you can comment on this a little bit too. A guy that big is so hard to hit. I mean,
very unusual.
He's just very. You're right. It's unusual how he moves.
Never see it.
No.
It's never pretty. It's
Nope.
never a pretty fight.
It's herky-jerky. It's odd. He's an odd-looking body for a heavyweight fighter.
I think it's just hard to get a rhythm with him.
Very,
He's
very.
got a fast
Never get your engine going.
head movement is very unusual for a guy that big.
So I mean, here's what I think. The longer the fight goes, the better it is for Fury.
Yep,
That
I agree.
if it's something that's going to be close in the 8th or 9th, that's where I'm going to go. But I think I'm going to agree with you guys. I think that Fury loses this one in a close one, and I think that there's going to be at least 1 or 2 judges whose cards they're going to look at and go, I wonder what's going on there, because I think he is so difficult to score. I think.
And let me add one thing in Wilder's career that has shown up, and it even showed up a little bit in some recent fights. Fury, despite that bad body, doesn't gas out. Wilder does a little bit. And if it goes later, Chris, there's a lot of people who feel that is Fury's advantage. Wilder, though, is figuring out a way with some of these guys. The knockout of Ortiz was very, very impressive for this era because nobody's done that. Wilder's knocked him down now 3 or 4 times, too. If he catches you at that height and range, and he catches you at that long bomb, there's not too many guys in the current era that can stand up to it. So it's going to be intriguing as long as it lasts, but a lot of people feel like you do, Chris.
See, I think Wilder is going to be focused this time. I to be honest, I wasn't real impressed with Fury in his last outing.
He struggled.
He has a tendency to go down.
He can. Yep.
But I think Wilder's a little more patient here. I think Wilder a little more focused here. I'm going to assume he's going to come in better shape than he did last time. But I just think he's the better boxer. And I think when you have that combined with a focus, with hopefully a patience, where he's not trying to rush it and just taking basically what Fury gives him, but he's got the ability to knock him down 2 or 3 times. You're right. Fury has a great ability to get back up again. But,
gets up, yeah.
You know, if Wilder comes in the way I think he will, I really am looking for this to not go the distance. And I think Wilder captures say it, Gare.
The lineal heavyweight title.
Love it.
Well, let me add one thought to that, Dave, and I think there's a lot of people feel like you. Of the big 4 in this past 2 years, which has been better than the media ever gives it credit for or attention, he is the one that keeps talking about the right thing. Ruiz had a big upset, was a better fighter than people realized. Then he shows up way overweight, didn't prepare at all. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't do it. Sorry. Joshua, I'm convinced that Joshua wants to do nothing more than model clothes, talk about how great he is. I don't think he's that focused, and he hasn't improved. Fury also is more concerned, it seems, with me, with what he's going to do after boxing. He's already told, I might retire after the fight again. Well, I want to go into try an MMA. I want to fight Stipe Miocic. All this stuff. Wilder's the only one that really continues to talk about, hey, I want to be considered among the all-time greats. I want to do this. I'm born and bred to do this, and I'm not going anywhere anytime soon. This is my whole life.
Right.
I don't know if it's BS, but he is the one of the 4 that really has shown the willingness to do that. So I think that could be a big factor in this. If you're coming into this men this big and you're not really there, it's just not easy to win that, no matter what your style is.
Right.
So that is an advantage, I think, in the intangibles for Wilder to me.
Right, and I think that's what I think Joshua is the best on paper, talent-wise.
Maybe,
but
yeah.
I agree with his lack of focus. I think Wilder, whereas he might not be the best of the 4, he's probably the one that would win in a tournament because
I think so.
Joshua has a 2-cent head. When it comes
Joshua really hasn't had the same kind of adversity in his fights either, really.
He had it. His chin is so glass. He was down and almost out against Klitschko. He was rocked 4 times by Andy Ruiz. He really isn't a big hitter. He's just very fast-handed despite that bad body.
Right.
And he talks about, I want to be an all-time great, but then the next breath, he's, well, I'm not going to take any risk if the money's not right. Well, what are you? Like, stop. Make up your mind.
What is he? What is he, Fletcher?
Sorry, man.
There goes our 3 UK viewers, but and it's true though. I mean, he's a little bit of a modern day package to me.
He's no Frank Bruno, is what you're saying.
He is actually Frank Bruno, just 25 years later, 30 years.
You know what? You may be right. You may be right.
Frank Bruno was how body beautiful was he?
Oh.
But I could hit him in the chin and he was going down.
Yeah.
So he actually, I think that's a mirror image of what he is, and he gets
actually a pretty good call.
He gets wildly offended at that. If you've ever seen the interviews with Joshua, because it's so accurate, I think it bothers him.
Yeah.
Should be interesting nonetheless. I'm just glad it's back in the news because, it's funny. I have to add this in. A friend of mine, younger guy, who watches both, got me interested in both. He invited a bunch of people over to his house. Now, he's also done this when he's had some of the bigger MMA stuff. Now, they're a little younger, but they're not 25 either. That was mixed, depending on what was going on. This time, only one other person, besides myself, is going over to watch this. 2 or 3 say, I'm not really all that interested. I don't know that much. I'm going to move on. I'd like to write that or send that to Aram and these guys. Get it together, fix the thing, because I don't want to say you're losing ground, but you're not making any ground up either. This is the biggest fight in boxing in quite some time.
Yeah.
And it's getting some attention from ESPN because they're a co-promoter of the pay-per-view.
Which was a good
A
thing.
lot of coverage. It's not getting a lot of coverage. It's pretty frightening if I'm in the boxing management business. So
Jeremy Schaap is going to find out Fury's feelings before the fight.
yeah, well, that's why we watch boxing to
I
understand.
heard Wilder said something offensive to him.
Wilder can say a lot of things offensive when you're up close to him, particularly
There was another bout tonight, fellas. I don't know whether you saw it with McCann and the Penguins stepping up.
how much do you love McCann? I wasn't going to throw that in. How much do you love McCann?
How much do you love this entire team?
I do too. I do. I'm feeling good. Murray had his bumps in the road tonight again, I thought, in the second goal. But, boy, I feel good about their chances. I got to agree, man.
Yeah.
I do want Dumoulin back because you put Dumoulin with Schultz, there's 3 defensive pairs are top flight then.
Guys, they've lost 252 man games.
And that's staggering. That's every night, Chris. That's 4 guys missing.
And they're in first place in the Metro. How is that possible? You have to shake your head at this one. And, what a great coaching job.
Oh,
Yep.
best
Yep.
coaching
And
job
front office.
in Penguin history.
Front office, leadership. Even though Crosby wasn't on the ice, the leadership.
Yeah.
It's a model. And people are going to say, "Oh, you're Pittsburgh guys." I'd say that if I was a Vancouver Canucks fan. They continue to adjust it to the game again. They've adjusted to the game again. They decided, well, we're not going to be able to get big like the Caps and the Islanders. We're going to have to outrun them. They're doing it, and it became more of a pain in the rear end.
Yeah.
All these guys they picked up, and honestly, they kept both goalies, and they somehow can keep them cooperating.
Yeah.
So that organization deserves credit, top to bottom, players, leaders, front office, coaches, everybody. Everybody in Pittsburgh should emulate it. A lot of sports organizations should emulate it. But now Zucker, who's he's not that big of a money either. He's only $5 million. That's not that bad.
And they've got control of them for what, 3 more years?
Yeah. How fantastic is that?
Although they are going to have to make a decision on a goalie in the next 5-10 games.
Somebody's going to rise to the forefront. I thought it was going to be Murray, Dave. I know you and I are kind of his supporter more than some other people.
Played well. He, 2 of the goals tonight are not his fault. Yeah, the second one was.
Second one wasn't
off. But
yeah.
You know what? Even if he gives up 1 goal, they're still losing. So.
Yeah, that's right. They're not playing. They're not getting many chances tonight.
Well, I also think that they embarrassed Toronto last game.
They did.
I think Toronto's got a little bit to prove tonight. So
it could have been 10-1 the last game. That's right.
Little bit less to prove now. It just went up 4-0.
Yeah, they've made their point.
Well, I mean, there's desperate. They have some desperate. They're not going to be able to avoid Boston or Tampa, and they're not going to beat either team. But there's still some teams hot on the Leafs' heels. They may, they may slide out of there. a lot more desperate than Pittsburgh is at the
Well,
moment. So
they're desperate, but I think right now in my mind, Pittsburgh's got one challenger for the East, and that's Tampa. That's the one.
Yeah,
team
I
I'm
agree.
nervous about.
I think the Caps will still be there, but I hear the Tampa's been the best team in the league since December 1st.
Yeah.
So
So
Yep.
they're going to be going in with a little mo on their side.
Caps are good too. The one thing that Penn's have an advantage of, either guy the team can play well in front of and is comfortable with. That is not the case with the Caps in Tampa. If Vasilevsky or Holtby are not playing that well, they've got babies behind them. And they got McElhenney down in Tampa, who's about 50 years old. So the Pens are deep in the goal. One guy goes down or struggling, they're very comfortable. You got an all-star who might be the backup on the Penguins.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's a good position to have, and it's something that you used to see all the time in the 70s. You don't see very much anymore.
Well, I tell you what, I like their speed, guys. They're
Mhm.
back to being that speed team with an aggressive forecheck that pressures you from the minute the puck drops.
Yep, always in
That's
your
fun-
shorts.
that's fun to
Yep.
watch.
Yep.
When they get their offense going with that tic-tac-toe passing,
Best in the league.
Tough to stop. Yep.
Best in the league.
you know, thank God they play entertaining hockey. I
They do.
can't think of another team that I'd rather watch than these guys. Really.
Yeah, I
and I'm not
agree.
just being a homer there. They just play a beautiful brand of hockey.
I agree.
They
with
do. They do.
you. Agree with you.
Yeah. It's not a grabbing, clutching, not a trapping, and not a dirty hockey either. It's just they're skilled and they outrun you, and they're always in your shorts.
They're pains in the ass. Just that's a perfect description of them.
But the other thing is they'll match
Two
up.
shutdown pairs too. That's something again. Two shutdown. You got if you have Johnson has become that with Letang, and if Marino can come back and he's in shape, him and Pedersen are so long and lean, you can't get around them. They got two shutdown pairs. Not every team can boast that either.
I just want to see a little bit more from the fourth line, Gary. That's
Yeah, well, they had some injuries.
You know what?
Bukestad.
If that's your biggest problem, your fourth line, that's not so
doing
bad.
good. You're doing
That's
good.
right. I agree.
Although,
But-
what if your biggest problem is having too many coaches try to coach a
Oh.
team in practice? Is that one of the most bullshit things you've ever heard?
Self-reporting it too, Dave.
Well, you know why they self-reported it, of course. They're trying to get the Stallings payment of $10 million down to $1 million
Ah, ha, ha. Nice.
because
I didn't hear this, so you guys can you give me? We have some time pressure, but
Pitt got put on 3 years probation because they had too many coaches coaching during practice sessions. It's an NCAA rule that they really only enforce when somebody self-reports it because everybody does it.
Jesus Christ! So they did it for some financial reasons, with whoever it was.
Pitt self-reported today, and apparently, I'm not 100% sure of this, but it sounds like it makes sense. They're trying to have cause with the firing of Stallings. Apparently, would reduce what they have to pay him from $10 million to $1 million.
Okay. Well, then that's why they self-reported, and now it's out in the world. So yeah.
So, business standpoint, good. Kind of
Yeah.
a little
Kind of
stingy on the,
Yeah.
But the NCAA is not taking any scholarships away.
They're still eligible for postseason in both cases.
Yeah.
They just won't make it, but they're eligible.
Well,
at least it's not, yeah, it's
Narduzzi
not a punishment.
had to take one for the team on this one too, because they had to report him also.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he doesn't have to coach two helmeted practices.
Two helmeted practices.
Yeah.
So he has to let his assistants coach.
Somebody in the NCAA's got too much time on their hands.
Now, we won't take away anything from North Carolina for having bogus classes for their coaches. We certainly won't do anything to Sean Miller or any team that was involved in the basketball scandal.
Right. They got him on tape. Yeah.
Let's put somebody on 3 years probation for having an extra assistant coach.
Right.
Would that be double secret probation?
You're on double secret probation.
I mean, it is the height of ridiculous when you think about it. I mean, it's just amazing. So, and like I've been saying a lot, and some idiots on Facebook criticized me for it, but do they really think we're this stupid? Like the NCAA, I guess they think oh man, they're really in charge of this. They let a guy get something on tape that he's talking about paying somebody $500,000 to come there. They didn't do anything.
But he's allowed to coach at Arizona, and the NCAA seems to have no interest in going after him.
No.
Although I think that the reason is they fear what would come out.
Yes, indeed.
It's a Manfred move. I agree.
I mean,
yeah, it died a quiet death, didn't it? Quickly.
Man, you see what happens in European soccer?
That's like death penalty.
Oh, man. I mean, now they're talking about, there's the Premier League and then the First Division, which is the championship, and then League One. They're talking about dropping Man City down 2 leagues, which would take them 2 years to get back to the Premier League.
That's a penalty. And the money was big.
You destroy the franchise because who is going to want to sign with them to play 2 leagues down?
Right.
And $5 million to the Astros, that's the price of a backup middle infielder.
Oh, Man City has a $35 million.
Right, I know. That's what I'm saying. That's huge.
Did you see the Kevin Gorman column today? He was talking about Joe Musgrove being in
poor Joe Musgrove. Yeah.
And meanwhile, all the other Pirates are talking about how shitty the whole thing with the Astros was and how terrible it was and how the league should have done more. And Musgrove's just sort of sitting there going, don't mind me,
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I find it humorous that, the reason that there's not more is because of the Players Association not allowing them to suspend them. So basically, the Players
Association now say, no, we never said that.
Clark kind of said that's not the case, but Clark said there was
It is the case.
But he may. I have to think this through when I saw Clark's interview. But he said there's really no grounds for Manfred to do it. There's nothing written to deal with this situation.
Because he made a deal with them that, we will give them immunity.
That's exactly what I think happened. He wasn't going to get done as quickly.
If Clark is saying that, if I'm Manfred, okay, you're suspended 2 years. You're suspended 2 years. Gone with your title. And let's see the Players Association go after him then.
Not going to happen. Never happened with him.
Tony Clark is throwing him under the bus.
Yep.
Then I would come out and do that. And I think that's why Goodell did that to Tom Brady for Deflategate.
I think it's related. I think it's a related situation. I actually bet that when I was driving today. I think you're right.
You know damn well that the Players Union was going against him. So, basically it takes the heat off him.
Yep.
And onto the Players Association. Anyways, looks like we're gonna have a good fight this weekend.
I'm looking for. I hope it does summon up the Bo. I don't think it's going to be Bo Holyfield 1, 2, or 3. I'm sure it's going to be Lewis Holyfield. Yeah. But I hope it's got some drama and I hope it gets people talking about it. I don't know how long lasting it'll be. I hope it's a good one though. I do.
Well, I'll go Wilder in 7.
I'm going to go Wilder a little later, and it might not be a knockout, but I think he might start bumping Fury up. If Fury's going to come in at 270, he might. I think it could be Wilder by stoppage at 10 or 11.
Go quick, Fletch.
Wilder in 7.
All right.
Goes past 7, Fury wins.
All right. There you have it. All right, gentlemen. You have a wonderful evening.
You too.
All right.